I was looking at a recent mix I did and I realized there were a few simple techniques I used that would probably improve my viewers' songs right away. And these are easy mixing moves that I don't think I've shown in any of my other videos. And the best part is that these changes should only take you a few minutes to implement. Now, to use these techniques, you don't need to be a professional engineer or even be someone that's been mixing for multiple years. These should help even the most novice of engineers. And if you need help digging into more complex mixing techniques, you can check out all my other videos or even download my free home studio mix guide that's helped out thousands of engineers. And if you have some time, go ahead and sign up for my free online mix training that I hold a couple times a week to help out engineers just like you. For all that and more, guys, just check out the description of this video and you can get those downloads and sign up for the mix training. But let's jump right into this. So here's the song I'm going to be using as an example today.
Can we get out of this rut that we're in? It's not so hard. Loving yourself can be wasteful and thin when you don't know who you are. When saying and talking are all that you do, why don't you say it right back so you can hear it too? When saying
This is just a simple rock song, but all three techniques can be found in this short clip that I've just played. So let's hop into the first tip. One of the biggest game changers for me in the last year and a half or so has been utilizing hard clipping or intentionally clipping your signal in select areas of your mix. And this can be shown really clearly here on drums, but other areas where I use this is the mix bus and also sometimes in mastering. Now, some people might see their faders clipping and think this is a big no-no. And yes, you really don't want all your meters down here showing up red, but some controlled clipping can actually be a great thing, and that's what I'm going to show. Now, just as an example, let's show this on drums. So on the drum bus here, I have the clipper plug in at the end. On the snare bus, I have it as well. And then also on the kick bus. Now let's play the drums and I'll bypass these. You can see how much energy they lose. Just a lot more power, a lot more snap and punch. Now, if we open up the clipper that I use, which is the Black Salt Audio clipper, we can see it's a very simple tool. And by the way, there's tons of clipping plugins out there, and some DAWs even have them built into them. Now, this works almost like a limiter, so we can choose when the signal is going to get clipped. Basically, I have it set at -4 here, so when I play the drums, you're going to see that it's not peaking over -4. Now, if this was a limiter, this would be turning down the signal if it went over -4. And when we add a limiter, we often lose punch. But this isn't a limiter, it's a clipper, so it's actually just chopping the signal off at -4 and actually allowing the drums to maintain their punch. And this plugin is doing even more and adding something to the sound, which I'll show in just a minute. These plugins often have a gain knob as well, so you can add even more perceived volume. Clipping the hell out of it there, but it doesn't sound bad, and it sounds like, we're getting even louder, even though, again, the signal down here isn't peaking over -4. Now, just to show you what something like this clipper actually does to the signal, and I've shown this in another video where I talked about how important it is to use analog emulation plugins, but we're going to show it again with this clipper tool. Now I've added this track at the top called test, and I put the test oscillator in here, which is going to generate a tone around 1K. And I'll mute that for you so you're not hearing that annoying sound. And 2 slots below, I put Pro Q3 just so we could see the signal and we could see, yes, a tone is being generated at 1K. Now, in between the analyzer, Pro Q3, and our test oscillator, we are going to add our Black Salt Audio clipper. And right now it is doing nothing. You can see the signal is peaking around -12. So let's start to induce some clipping here. And you can see when I do that, our analyzer starts really freaking out, right? Now, what are all these little lines, right? Well, these are harmonics that are being generated because of this clipping that we are adding in here. Now, why is harmonic distortion such a good thing for our audio signals? Well, it simply makes the signal seem beefier and louder. It adds perceived volume. And that's obvious, right? This signal doesn't have as much going on, and this simply does. Now, yes, we can add gain to this and make it freak out even more, but just adding some clipping to your signal, you're going to get a fatter kick tone, a fatter snare tone, and your drums specifically are going to really benefit from this. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this with bass guitar or guitar or anything with a more constant signal because it's going to be a lot more noticeable and you're going to really hear that clipping. The reason why it specifically works with drums and the transients of drums is because those are just so quick, so you don't notice this distortion as much. And that's why it can be used a lot of times on drums and even a little bit on your master bus instead of a limiter so you can get more punch out of your song overall. Now, of course, we got to be careful with this. For instance, if we really clip the hell out of this drum bus, it's going to kind of destroy our signal. So use it carefully, mess around with it. Who knows? Maybe you want that effect and want to use it in a part of your song. But that's what we want to add in, just a little bit of that subtle distortion. Now, the next really easy tip for getting a more exciting sound is something as simple as automating your choruses up in volume. If we play the pre-chorus into the chorus, this song just lifts and becomes just a tad bit louder in the chorus.
Loving yourself can be wasteful and thin when you don't know who you are. When saying and talking are all that you do, why don't...
Now, of course, you should be automating all your tracks and messing with that throughout your whole mix, but just on your master bus, just by lifting it up maybe half a dB, is going to make the chorus sound a little bit more exciting. Now, this doesn't have to all be about automation. This is just a real down and dirty, quick way to make your chorus pop a bit more. Here we just up the volume by half a dB, but you could also try a few other things, such as adding another pair of stereo guitars to make the guitar sound bigger. Or you could even try some tricks with the vocals. So for example here, this is the EQ I have on the chorus vocal, and it's got the same boosts as the verse vocal, but in the chorus vocal, I just chose to make those boosts a little bigger, by half a dB or a dB, so that the vocals are a bit brighter in the choruses. If you see right here, we have a boost at 2K and we're boosting by 6 dB. Well, it's the same thing in the chorus, except we're boosting by about 7 dB. So it's just those little things, again, that's going to make the chorus a little bit bigger than the rest of the song. The last tip I have is actually a bit of a no-no, or at least I was taught that it was when I started learning how to mix and record over 15 years ago. People would say never to mix reverbs or use too many different reverbs in a song. Well, mixing is all about breaking rules, and over the last year and a half, I've started to do a lot of experimenting with combining reverbs, specifically on vocal tracks. And this does a couple things, at least for me. So when I combine reverbs, I can dial in just a touch of each so that my vocal isn't too reverbed out. I hate if I have a mix and the guy just sounds like he's swimming in reverb. To me, it just sounds cheesy, and it sounds like you're trying to hide the vocal behind this effect. Now, of course, in specific types of music, ton of reverb's great, but I'm mostly mixing rock, and I want it to sound like, the singers in the room with the band, not in some huge hall or chamber or anything like that. Something else that I like about combining reverbs is just the fact that it sounds cool, right? It sounds awesome. It sounds interesting when you mix two different types of sounds. So in this song, I chose to use a room reverb, which has a very short tail on it, and then I mix it with a plate reverb. So here's the vocal dry.
And we get out of this rut that we're in, it's not so hard.
And then we'll add just the room reverb.
And we get out of this rut that we're in, it's not so hard.
And then we'll add the plate.
And we get out of this rut that we're in, it's not so hard.
Yeah, so we have the very natural sounding room reverb with a very short tail. Sounds like he's just singing in, a medium-sized room. And then we add a touch of the plate reverb, which adds that spaciness. And again, it's just a little bit of each reverb. So he's not swimming in reverb, and it sounds super natural. So in the song, it is not too reverbed out.
And we get out of this rut that we're in, it's not so hard. Loving your...
So guys, use these tips, try them out, and let me know if you have any questions. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure and go grab a copy of my home studio mix guide with your go-to EQ and compression settings for all your tracks. And also go ahead and register for my online mix training that I hold a couple times a week so that you can learn how to turn your home recorded tracks into a professional product.